Hello, welcome to Ben Recap. Today, we will recap the story of a 2018 movie, Set It Up. Kirsten Stevens is a legend in her field of work as editor of an online sports journalism empire. Rick Otis is a badass venture capitalist who works in the same building as Kirsten. Although they've never met each other, they have the same workaholic spirit which has an adverse effect on their assistants, keeping them at work for hours past the official closing time. One day, the assistants meet up over a drink and one of them suggests that it would be nice if they could set their bosses up together so as to give them free time to enjoy themselves. Harper's boss says she should order dinner although she'd already had some. She gives Harper her fitness watch to keep stepping for her in order for her trainer to think she was exercising. Harper takes the watch from her and orders the food, but she has to wait for 45 minutes for the food. Charlie's boss makes him wait outside while he's at his meeting, and just when he thought he was done for the day, Rick, his boss, says they are going back to the office together. Harper shares an article idea with her boss, but she gets really emotional in the middle of it. She is interrupted by her phone and has to get the order from downstairs. Meanwhile, Charlie goes over his boss's schedule for the next day. His boss gets annoyed when he asks what to tell his ex-wife, Kiki, when she calls about their divorce papers. They get into the office and Rick asks for his dinner, although he specifically told Charlie not to order anything when he asked back at the hotel. He fearfully runs outside to order some food and meets Harper arguing with the delivery guy. He offers to pay for the food to give his boss since the guy was accepting cash and Harper had none. She asks if she can borrow some money from Charlie, but he says no and pays the delivery guy. She runs after him and says they could split the meal, which they do and go their separate ways at the elevator, but not before exchanging some words. By the time Harper gets to her office, Kirsten, her boss, is leaving and she doesn't even take her meal along. At home, Harper unwinds by watching some football. Becca and Mike come in. They ask about her date. She lies about it at first, but eventually tells them she had to work late so she couldn't make it in time for the date. She gets ready to fall asleep but is interrupted by Becca's scream. She rushes over to the room and meets that Mike proposed to Becca. When Charlie gets home, his roommate, Duncan, is sitting alone in the dark. He asks if he has someone over, but he says no, but his date comes out. The next day at work, Charlie tries to get an intern to cover for him at work so he could leave to meet up with his girlfriend, but while he's leaving, he hears Rick throwing a fit and he rushes upstairs to meet him. Apparently, the intern showed him an invitation sent by Kiki, even though he specifically said not to show him anything from his ex-wife. Later that night, Harper and Charlie meet up and have drinks. Harper jokes about getting their bosses together so while they are dating, they would have more free time as their assistants. The next day, when she wakes up, she really thinks about the idea and concludes that it's a good one. She goes over to Charlie's office and tells him that although they made a joke about it the day before, it could actually work out in a good way for them. He refuses to join her in her scheme and leaves to see his girlfriend, who is pissed that they were at Rick's son's school show instead of an actual date. She tells him that she cannot be with someone who is saving seats for his boss. She wants to be the one they are saving seats for. She gets up to break up with him, but he begs her and says he'd soon be promoted, then they would have saved seats. She sits back but is not interested in being there. When Rick comes in, he tries to flirt with her, unknown to him that she's Charlie's date. Fed up, Charlie tells Harper that he wants in on her setup plan. They discuss the personalities of their bosses and agree to get them stuck in an elevator together since they work in the same building but have not met each other. To do this, they meet Creepy Tim, the elevator engineer in the building, and persuade him to shut down the elevator. He agrees to help them. Rick walks into the elevator and they make it stop at Kirsten's floor, so she gets on, but she and Rick are absorbed by their cell phones to notice anything. Then a delivery guy also gets on the elevator. Charlie and Harper wonder how they get the delivery guy off, but Tim stops the elevator. When the delivery guy says he's claustrophobic, he starts it back up, with the elevator running. Rick asks how the delivery guy can be claustrophobic given the nature of his job. The man says he usually takes the stairs, but he had bigger deliveries that day so he had to use the elevator. Kirsten tells Rick to leave the issue. The elevator stops again. Charlie asks why Tim stopped it, but he says he wasn't the one who made it stop. The elevator was having an actual fault. The delivery man takes off his clothes, and by the time the elevator starts working, he's peed inside of it. Kirsten and Rick hurriedly make their way out at the next floor. Later in the office, Harper makes it seem like Rick asked for her number, although he didn't. She tells Kirsten that she didn't give her number out though. Kirsten makes a face that shows she's interested in the crush Rick supposedly has for her. Charlie makes Rick interested in Kirsten by telling him about an investor who is interested in her business. They make Kirsten and Rick get good tickets to the Yankees game. And before the match, Harper gets the video guy to make the two people sitting in some particular seat numbers kiss. They monitor their actions when they notice each other. Kirsten offers Rick the seat beside her and he takes it. During the break, the camera comes on them to kiss, but they shrug it off. It comes again the second time, but they have a little peck. But the third time, they kiss real good. Charlie and Harper celebrate their victory. After the match, their bosses do not have orders waiting up for them and they are free for the day. The next day at work, their bosses do not show up early to work. They try to guess what could have happened, but Charlie ends the call when Rick walks in. When Kirsten comes in, she tells Harper that they didn't sleep together although they did every other thing. Kirsten leaves work earlier than usual that day and so does Rick, leaving Charlie and Harper free for the day. While Harper plays golf with a date, Duncan tells Charlie that his girlfriend sucks. He says Charlie doesn't really know anything about her and they never have intimate conversations. In the following days, Harper and Charlie exchange tips with each other on what to do to make their employers less grumpy. They help with the gifts, planning of dates, and so on. And this went on for weeks, until one day the two bosses go into their respective offices very angry. Apparently, Rick and Kirsten had a disagreement over dinner, and Rick ended up throwing up, embarrassing himself. They cancel their vacation together and nothing Harper and Charlie do seems to work. Rick throws fits in his office and Kirsten complains about everything Harper does. One day, Charlie and Harper meet up and talk about their jobs where they share the fact that they are both not happy with what they do, but they have to continue doing it because they need to get to the next level. On a particular night, Rick comes back to the office and he's drunk. He tells Charlie that he appreciates his work. He asks how he can make it up to Kirsten. Charlie says he could apologize and he takes his advice. He goes to Kirsten's office and they make up. They go on their vacation and Harper is able to attend Becca's engagement party, although her date for the party stopped texting her some days before, so Charlie offers to go with her. They have fun together at the party. They dance and talk about their shortcomings, after which they leave the party to grab pizza, but when they get back to Charlie's apartment, Duncan's got company so they have to climb up to Charlie's bedroom. While they are eating, they look at each other with so much emotion in their eyes. Harper says she should probably leave. Later that week at work, Kirsten and Rick call Harper and Charlie into Kirsten's office where they announce that they would be getting married the next week. They ask them to plan out the wedding for them and say they should use the break to get some of their personal work done. Rick tells Charlie he would be getting a promotion and Kirsten says Harper can use her free time to write her article. The both of them are really excited. But later that day Rick tells Charlie that he's gonna have sex with his ex-wife, but Charlie doesn't tell Harper about this. One day, Charlie asks Harper to help him get something from his desk on her way to help him pick out Kirsten's ring and she overhears Rick's conversation with his ex-wife. She listens in on the telephone and confirms this. When she met up with Charlie, she tells him about the conversation but he tries to dodge the question. She corners him and he admits that Rick slept with Kiki, but he says it was a mistake. Harper says they can't get married again now that they know the truth, but Charlie is of the opinion that they could just bury the act under the rug. Harper asks if he wants to help Rick cheat and he says they have been faking their entire relationship. The both of them exchange words. But Harper says she's going to tell Kirsten the entire truth. She goes to Kirsten's event and tries to tell her the truth. She tells her about how she and Charlie set up the entire relationship, but she ends up getting fired. At work, Charlie calls Harper's office, but she's not on seat. He doesn't reach her personally though. One day, Becca comes into Harper's apartment, finds her wallowing in a sea of Chinese food wraps. She tells her to stop feeling sorry for herself and to write an article just as she can, and then she would continue to improve on the article until she gets good at it. Harper heeds her advice. She takes her laptop to the nearest cafe and says she's not leaving there until she writes an entire article. Meanwhile, Charlie takes his girlfriend to a very expensive restaurant for a date where he realizes that they really do not have anything in common. He breaks up with her and calls Harper to apologize for all he did. He tells her that he would make everything right again by going to the airport to stop them from leaving. He finds them when he gets to the airport. He quits his job and tells Kirsten not to go with Rick. He tells her that Harper really appreciates her and all she does is talk about her. Rick tells Kirsten not to listen to him. Kirsten asks Rick about some of her favorite things and he didn't get one of them directly. Then he accidentally calls her Kiki. Kirsten walked out on him and told Charlie to cancel the wedding from his schedule. In the cafe, Harper finished her article and is extremely joyful at her success. The next day, Rick shows up to Charlie's apartment and asks for some information on Kiki. Charlie couldn't believe his ears, but Rick tells him that he really wants Kiki back, so he tells Rick that he'd send the files over to him. Duncan gets to the front of the apartment and after greeting Rick, he asks if Charlie still works for him. When Charlie says no, he pours his drink on Rick's shirt and then they go into their apartment. Harper goes to take her remaining stuff from the office, and she runs into Kirsten, who tells her to come back to work. She tells Kirsten that even if she comes back to work, she can't be her assistant because she wants to be a writer. Kirsten fires her again but asks if she has written anything. She shows her the article and Kirsten says they should go over it. When she's leaving that day, she sees Charlie at the entrance. He says Kirsten told him to meet her there, to which Harper laughs, realizing that Kirsten set them up. He tells her that he quit working for Rick. He says he likes her a lot. They list out their shortcomings and then they kiss each other because despite it all, they love each other. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to watch more recap videos. See you later.